First of all, thank you for coming, because today's evening is connected to a narrative of luxury that we are building in Sri Lanka and South Asia, which leads on to the show that we are doing tomorrow. So, majority of everyone who's here, I knew would add value, enjoy this, and their voice will matter in terms of building the narrative that we are doing for in Sri Lanka and South Asia. Why are we talking about luxury edition in the middle of a bit of a crisis, right? There's a bit of a paradox there. Idea is that, luxury is a perspective, and this is my introduction so that we know why we're doing this. Luxury is a perspective, and if you look at luxury in Dubai, it's more like bling. But if you look at luxury in South Asia, if we can revisit the luxury in South Asia, which was based on craftsmanship, which was based on spending time and enhancing your craft, right? Now, if you build that narrative, that luxury is relevant to South Asia and Sri Lanka, right? And that kind of luxury uses local resources, right? It requires designers to spend more time on the craft, right? And when they spend more time on their craft, the value of the product goes up. And when the value of the product goes up, obviously the business starts getting better. And I'm hoping that when we build this kind of narrative, there'll be a reverse of the brain drain, because there'll be more design entrepreneurs who will think that this is relevant and they could at least do it, right? So hence the panel is, as you would see, is a very, it's a rich panel, let's put it like that, right? In terms of experience and knowledge, and also in terms of what they can offer and what they have done in Sri Lanka, right? So it's my pleasure to introduce, the panel to you. And this talk is a nice kind of a, setting where ask questions, engage in this whole thing. And so let me introduce the panel, and I'll start with the lady who's going to be leading two men. I may say that I'm a little biased towards her, because I kind of think that she's one of the most intelligent, knowledgeable ladies I've come across who has a passion to in design. She reads a lot. She enhances her knowledge all the time, and she does quite a fair bit of work in a corporate world as well. So Angie Nondat, she will be leading she'll ask all the right questions, and then I'll introduce Sanjay Baid. I was introduced to Sanjay Baid a month ago, and I was amazed the kind of work that he's doing. That he's he's got quite established practice for last 25 years in supplying diamonds to the world. He's the 5th largest in the world, and doing all that while being in Panadura. Yeah, to Rolex, to Cartier, and they're on wait lists, and because of his precision cutting, they come to him, and that happens in Sri Lanka, right? Akram, I thought I'll leave the biggest jewel till the end, because we know Akram Qasim, four generation of the brand that he's built, 4 generations, right? And how he's done it carefully, building his own narrative and keeping it very relevant in times like that, right? At times like where we are now. So and why are we doing it, people in fashion? We're doing this so that we understand that the kind of work they're doing can have a positive rub-off on fashion designers, and who would enhance their craft as well, and we learn from them. So over to you, Angeline.
So when Ajay actually texted me, I had no idea about, and we still don't know, 3 of us don't know what you all have been told about this. So it's really wonderful to see everybody. So let me start with Sanjay. Your company, Diamond Cutters, has been in Sri Lanka since 1987.
Yes.
Employs over 1,500 people and supplies precisely cut diamonds and to the foremost fashion brands in the world of watches and jewelry. Tell us, what was the decision process for you to locate in Sri Lanka, and moreover, how you have sustained the operation through 4 decades with lots of challenges.
I'm just trying to say about why we came in Sri Lanka, because for us, we want to very close to India, and it was the right destination for us to be a part of in Sri Lanka, because Sri Lankan culture, and as well as what is being craftsmanship which is being prevailing in Sri Lanka, help us to grow. And this is major part which is important for us, how we build up here. We started with 80 employees in Sri Lanka to supply to a Japanese market. Gradually we find out, okay, the craftsmanship and the skill levels in Sri Lanka is much more advanced and which can be narrated to a new field. And we start moving towards the direction of approaching the watch companies and other things. We started in 2002, started the first watch manufacturing things to be started in Sri Lanka for the watches, and which is now we are supplying almost to all the brands. And we have in our pipelines and other things, currently the skills which is being developed by the people here is so advanced, so that can challenge the people of India. As being an Indian, I'm telling that our craftsmanship in Sri Lanka is much more advanced. And that's made us to be in Sri Lanka for a long part. And it's really important for us how we develop these particular things, because the skill levels in Sri Lanka, when we started up with the new people, we enhanced their skills from zero, the level of zero, and bring them to a level where they can, craftsmanships are being brought it up. We do a precise cutting, which is in 0.001 micron levels, which is when it gets set in the watches. If I just try to, this is one of the Rolex bezel, which all the diamonds get set. And it's very important for you people to understand these all are being set in our factories, cut and thing. So
the big brands, right?
big brands.
Yes.
So if we have a lot of products, okay, which is being there, which specializing in a lot of areas, and the niche area of marketing was much more focused by us during this period. And we created a brand, and today in all the Swiss brands, they want as a Niru as a supplier for them.
It's really truly inspirational. So Akram, you are the fourth generation in your family to sustain Colombo Jewelry Stores. I remember your father very well. So, and it's an exclusive gem and jewelry business. This was started by your great-grandfather over 100 years ago. There were many wonderful jewelers that existed even before Colombo Jewelry Stores, I think from colonial or even pre-colonial times, from Arab trading times. But many of them haven't really, they haven't sustained. But Colombo Jewelry Stores has been able to survive the challenges of time. So tell us what your secret is and how you have steered Colombo Jewelry Stores to what it is today, to be the brand name that it is today internationally.
Good evening, everyone. My passion for gemstones, and particularly sapphires, was nurtured by my grandfather, who founded Colombo Jewelry Stores in 1922. I remember my first look at a parcel of sapphires as a child. I was just 10 years old, I think, at that time. And during the holidays, I would go to buy books with my father and run across the bookstore to see my grandfather at CJS. And there he was at the back end of the store in a dark room with a table full of sapphires. He would be sorting sapphires under a little light, and when you walk in as a 10-year-old, this was such an impressive thing that I've nurtured and enjoyed. It was like walking into Aladdin's cave. He had this whole range of 100 to 150 sapphires of different colors, different hues. Sapphires, as most of you may know, come not only in blue, but in pink, yellow, and Patmaraja, and white. So he was very passionate about what he did, and he transferred that passion and love for sapphires to me. He would take me out to daylight with this stone in his hand, which looked like a marble, and show it under sunlight, and wow, there was this beautiful star on a blue star sapphire. And it would also show me cat's eyes under sunlight, because without light, cat's eyes and star sapphires don't have anything glamorous or beautiful. But under sunlight, it's just amazing. He would show me the different shades of sapphire, different shades of all the colored stones. I was just 10 years old, and throughout my life, he's been whom I've looked up to. And when I leave the store, usually with my books, he would always give me a little box of gems and a box of chocolates. The passion for gems and chocolates has continued to this day. I was 25 years old when I joined my dad at Colombo Jewelry Stores. It was an era when people would not come and buy jewelry off the shelf. They would, all the old aunties at that time would come in with their daughters and their grandmothers to design jewelry and then collect it within a month. Being in a heritage jewelry store where most of the staff there had worked for more than 25 years, none of them were willing to come to me to get any designs done. Unless my dad was overseas or times like that, they would always go to the senior staff or someone they were familiar with. So I had to decide what I was going to do during this period, and I decided I wanted to start designing jewelry to make it look different, brand it differently, display it differently, and that was how I started designing stuff that was totally different to what was in the store at that time. And then I realized I also had to market it differently to appeal to the generation I was coming from. So over the years, I just spoke to my dad and said, I think we need to do a CJS calendar every year, tying up with some agency. And then he was very open to what I was fortunate to have been blessed with a father like that, who gave me a free hand to go ahead and do what I want. And we started creating calendars. So to do a calendar, you had to do a collection. And each collection I wanted to be different to the previous one. And we used models, we used scenery from Sri Lanka, we used whatever different ideas and objects which I thought were necessary at that period of time. Over the years, I've moved from different agencies to bring my vision in to what I want to do, because I think some of the agencies as well get stuck. Then in 2008, I think I thought we need to bring a brand, a personality to highlight jewelry. We needed to display, showcase, and also market jewelry different to what the other brands were doing. So I approached, the fashion icon at that time, I think it was Otara, Gunawardhan, and Odell. I partnered with Otara to create a brand called Otara, and that was the beginning of me signing up with ambassadors. Went on to sign up Jacqueline Fernandez after that for the last 10 years. So each time, I think I look at how we can improve, change, and add on to what we've done. And looking back at some of the campaigns I've done over the past, I think 15 years, 2 or 3 stand out. One is, I always admired my grandfather and wanted to see what his passion was. And his passion was horses, and horse racing in an era where horse racing was allowed in Sri Lanka, and he had, I think, 17 horses. He used to go for the Ascot for every year and sell sapphires there, and also he used to dress ladies up for the horse meets in Colombo at that time. Colombo, I think, Gaul and Norelia. So he would design jewelry for women to wear at the races. So I looked back at history to see what I could do with a campaign, and he had this particular horse called Golden Buckles, which he loved, and this particular horse won 3 races in a race meet in Colombo in 1 week. So he was very passionate about what he did, and he had got a Swiss watch designer to do a painting of that horse on his watch. And this he would proudly show me when I used to go to the shop, this is my horse. And so I thought, let's revive that, and did a campaign called Perpetual Grace with Jacqueline Fernandez, shot with horses and jewelry. Jewelry made with things that were different, with leather and stuff that was never used in Colombo at that time. And we launched this campaign. Also, I wanted to launch it differently, so we took the stables at that point of time and created a barn with hay, chairs out of hay, and got Jackie to ride in on a horse for the launch. So that changed the look and what people were expecting in Colombo. Then I decided we needed to take this further and tied up with Ajay for Colombo Fashion Week and took this whole concept onto the ramp. The girls were dressed in, I think, breeches, carrying saddles, and wore jewelry with leather and colored stones. Every piece I used to make for these collections was a one-off. So people in Colombo were looking to get something different, something that is wow. Done two more campaigns I would like to talk about. One is a tribute to my father, who loved his hometown of Gaul, fort in Gaul. So we created this campaign called Hometown, shot in Gaul, with all the iconic features, and launched a collection which also had some old jewelry of the brand from the 1920s. And we launched this at Paradise Road. We took over Paradise Road, converted that to the fort, and made a lovely campaign. The third campaign I thought was, now we've been doing a lot of campaigns, but I thought we need to tie up with some causes. I love elephants, wildlife, and photography. And I've seen the destruction of elephants dying. I think it was 200 to 300 elephants die every year. Humans
so
about...
use the sustainability
yeah,
angle.
Human-elephant conflict was rampant. So I thought I could create some awareness by doing a campaign that would take this forward. So I did a campaign called Unforgettable, where we shot with Jackie again in the remote area, northeast, Wasgamoa.
Yeah.
The campaign was called Unforgettable, A Future in the Wild. We walked through the village. We wanted to do some sustainable transport for villagers to go to school, children to go to school free, and did this campaign, and took this campaign forward in Colombo Fashion Week, where we showcased a cause instead of jewelry. And this is some of the few campaigns I've done. And over the years, I think we've done different things, different ideas, and I think it's important for a brand to
reinvent.
Yes, to reinvent itself always, to take it forward. And I've tied up with Archer DeVos for the environment, where we do for ocean conservation, where we create limited edition products and give 100% of the products for the causes. I've done it with the Wildlife and Nature Protection Society and with Asha. We also tied up with things like Emerge for sexually abused girls. So I think as a brand, a responsible brand, I think we need to take it forward. But over the years, we have followed the vision of the founder, which was always sell fabulous gems and fashionable jewelry and never compromise on quality.
Yeah.
So that has taken this brand through different eras and different times, and today we celebrate 100 years.
Sanjay, your products are an important component in the world of watches, and they're in the leading jewelry brands in the world. Even with all the upheavals of the economy and the COVID reset, we see that brands that are built on craftsmanship, luxury, sustainability appear to survive over the fast and disposable fashion. I mean, this seems to be really a trend that I think everyone is noticing. How do you think Sri Lanka and Asia as a whole as well can regain its place as the epicenter of craftsmanship? After all, many of the jewelers like Cartier, Bulgari, not only sourced their gems from this region, they also were inspired by Asian craftsmanship and design elements.
As you have already mentioned, a lot of things which is regarding the craftsmanship which is being prevailing in Sri Lanka. it's very important at this moment, which is the sustainability part, which comes up in a play, how we can sustain these particular products and the quality which will be enhancing our products to reach to a level. And on the same time, how we look it out the environment and social responsibilities, which is very important for us to take care on this part. And when we see all these current brands are looking all the social responsibilities when it comes to the
very high standards.
High standards to maintain it, the quality. And if we just say as a Sri Lanka, in what we have trained up our people and the craftsmanship is available, which has developed these things to showcase them as a brand in our products. And currently we already are being marketing Sri Lanka as a Sri Lankan company, not as an Indian, and that creating them to look it out. And we are with the diamond quality what we are providing them, they are looking us now to go in the gem fields also, where we will be able to cater and create the name which is already existing in the market of Ceylon sapphires, which is being prevailing. So we looking it out.
You were saying that you have to actually be ethically sourcing.
Ethically sourcing part has to come in a big way, and we need to look it out how we can sustain this industry with the quality concept, deliveries which is being there, because all the brands looks on these areas. And we as a company are at this moment with 0 rejections from the brands. So that's a one achievement which is being developed it out with our artisans in the Sri Lanka. And this is a remarkable thing which we can always proudly say on this.
Okay, great. Akram, you have known the Sri Lankan design talent resources well, the talent pool and the resources well, and you have been involved, as you said, with CFW from the inception. And you've been an inspiration to many of the young designers. What would be your advice to them, to the young designers, about how to build sustainable products and that has a global market, incorporating elements that are local instead of emulating Western products and model processes? Because we are in a, we're always saying right now is, we are in a challenging time, but there are still opportunities like the way, Ina De Silva, Jeffrey Bauer, they performed in probably much more challenging times than now.
I think we have an amazing lot of creative talent in Sri Lanka. We've seen it through Colombo Fashion Week and also through some of the other designers I've met and dealt with over the years. The first thing I think advice for a young designer is to develop your passion. Also develop other interests. You can't just have one interest. Like if you look at Da Vinci, he was multi-talented, multi-interested, looking at different things. So that helps to develop creativity in another level, to combine different products, be passionate with what they do. Also look to innovate and keep improving on what they do. A lot of designers, sadly, I've seen over the years, even in Colombo Fashion Week, even Ajay will know, they do one collection that is a big hit and then that goes to their head, and then they lose out and think that they don't have to innovate, they don't have to work hard. There's no shortcut to hard work and passion and dedication, and to keep learning from the past. I mean, like you said, we have Ina De Silva, we have Barbara Sanzoni, we have Shant Fernando and Jeffrey Bawa, to name a few, and lots of other things we can look back and take it forward. Even if you look back to, say, paintings of Sigiriya.
They use natural, and also the creativity came from
within,
the local architecture and even some of the ancient sites.
I think the war disrupted a little bit of what our creativity was during the 70s, 60s, 70s. It stopped in the 80s. But I think we can always get it back. It's just to develop passion and keep people motivated to do new things. Another thing I think is never run down your competition. That's one of the things I've seen a lot of people do. Everybody does lovely things, so just admire what others do and take it to the next level. Think big. Don't think that you cannot do something.
That's
big.
so true
Yeah.
of Jeffrey Bauer, because
Yeah.
actually a lot of his
Yeah.
projects, he had Lucky doing something and Ina doing
Yeah.
something, and a beautiful
And-
hodgepodge that
And
together
also
just created beauty.
collaborate
Yes.
with others. I think that's very important. Not necessarily stick to what you are doing. I mean, as jeweler, I can collaborate with you, with them. I mean, look at opening your mind, and then you get a better pool of resources. You get more finance, and you also get more feedback. I mean, you can tie up with tea. We have tea, gems, spices,
Sure.
spa, crabs. Now I've done a collection for Ministry of Crab. I forgot to bring it today.
Oh, I thought we were all
yeah, I
getting
had
one
it in
of
the
those.
pocket, but it was missing when I put my hand in. We've done movable crabs set in silver with sapphires and all colors. So that product is there. So I've done a
It's a
thing called a
cross
hopper.
marketing as
Yeah.
well.
So you can always create with different. And today for Fashion Week, I'm going with Darshi Kizisen and Buddhi Batiks. So even batiks, we can take it to another level. We can put in gemstones. We can create jewelry shapes into batik design. I mean, if you look at some of the sapphires or cuts we have, we can do that as a creation, a line in the future, taking everything forward.
He did something really clever. Yesterday he showed while we were discussing, there's a hopper ring, looks like an egg hopper, right? And then Angelina said this could be, connected to
Well, we were just saying that, an Indian gentleman has taken the hopper, which is such a humble, sort of street food in Sri Lanka, and made this series of, restaurants in London, in like really upmarket, I
And
would
the
say.
British are going to
And they're
enjoy
all
it.
going, they love the story, they love the narrative, and he's getting a good price for his hopper.
Yeah.
We're also all running and going to, eat his hoppers there. Even though, because it's perfect, it's consistent, he's made a story around it, and it's the narrative, and who would have thought? So I think it really should inspire, because the ideas are available. It just needs to be taken into
encourage,
that.
Yeah.
So would really like to hear what the audience can.
I have a question actually to Sanjay.
Yeah.
First of all, Sanjay, thanks to Ajay, like we actually know you exist now. It's wonderful. I mean, it's inspiring to know that we have a company like yours in this country.
Absolutely.
First of all, I'm sure you all have heard about cosmetics that have diamond dust in it, gold dust. All of that could be a marketing gimmick, but it also does exist. Now, on the lines of sustainability, I was wondering, in your industry, with the stones that you cut, there is leftover dust, wastage, I don't know. How does that work? Do you use that and resell it? Is there any other byproduct that goes with diamond cutting?
Basically,
there-
diamond is being cut with the diamond itself.
Yeah.
So what
there
we
is
do,
always, yeah.
we always collect the dust and recirculate this dust to use for the diamond powders in order to cut these diamonds. So always the diamond dust is being collected.
So it's
And
zero waste.
It's
Yeah, zero waste.
Co-
They use it on the cutting wheel.
on the cutting wheels. And that is being used even for the gem industries also.
Yeah.
So the gem industries buy that. Some
Locally, that happens locally.
No, locally at this
No,
moment, because we are internationally it's happening, and we are 100% export, so we don't sell any product in Sri Lanka at this moment. So if we see that the opportunities will come up and the tourism develops in order to cater the needs, we will try to move on these directions.
So it's the hardest material.
Material,
So you
yeah.
can
You
only
need
cut a
cut
diamond
with the diamond.
with a diamond, because that's the hardness of the diamond.
I think it's also finding new markets in Sri Lanka. For example, what we have done in the last 10 years is started to create a leisure market for sailing, for cruising, and where we were initially looking to export most of our boats, we saw that we're an island in Sri Lanka, a beautiful island, which doesn't have any kind of marine tourism, with boats, and so we started to manufacture our boats in Sri Lanka, and at some point we decided let's also charter to the local market. And with the pandemic, we really had to look back into the country and say we're actually not selling to tourists, foreign tourists, we're selling to Sri Lankan tourists. And actually this saved us over the last, I would say, 2 years, 3 years, with all the problems we've had, is the local tourism. So it's also that creativity to try something new and not only look at the old products or the old crafts that we have, but creating new ones. And at some point, we're also now looking at exporting. Next week, we're going to the Abu Dhabi Boat Show with new products, so we're going to enter the international market. But the Sri Lankan market was actually the one that saved us over the last year. So I think that kind of creativity is definitely...
That's wonderful to hear,
yeah.
really.
You know, the reason we're having these conversations is it'll put pressure on the designers to, you know, start spending more time on their craft, because that's what I'm harping most of the time. But and the fact is not like going to Beeraloo guys and bring, you can, but you got to first understand what you are creating, where you're going. They have to go past this, you know, this victimized mentality and this survival mode, you know, to saying that, look, I'm a creative person, I can sit down and creatively, you know, not look for greener pastures outside, it's available around you, right? And we started this initiative with HSBC, a fashion fund this year. We're picking 5 designers up, the younger ones, and trying to build a system so that, you know, they understand how to create properly, professionally around here, local market, and how to go beyond the local market as well, right? And I think once that thinking comes, then they're able to engage the artisans to work. Otherwise, right now, if they go at this point, if they're a little confused, they confuse the artisans as well, right? Who also on the survival mode pretty much. So it's a change of culture, and I'm hoping that this kind of a conversation that we're having here, and with all the right people around here, it'll be a certain pressure that they'll feel to spend more time on it, right? And few of them are here, and I'm hoping that they will. And then we can kind of, you know, go to the next level, because they're all talented, they all have background, they've done those things. They just have to just change the perspective, and it'll happen. And so I thank you, Sanjay, Angeline. Thank you for saying yes to this, because you know, not only you represented the whole thing really well, and Akram, thank you, and thank you for being here, because you know I needed you to be here. You're an amazing audience. So let's continue this down. We go down the staircase there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.